We are going to be doing another mock draft before tomorrow's NFL draft. With the first pick, it's obvious the Las Vegas Raiders are going Fernando Mendoza at pick number 1. At number 2, the New York Jets. The Jets did cancel a top 30 visit with David Bailey. So it means one of two things. Either one, they got enough information off of David Bailey at the combine and his pro day that they didn't need him to come in for his top 30 visit, or they know 100% they're going in a different direction and they're going with Alvaro Reese at number 2. I think in this situation, either or could happen. I think in this situation, it might be they got enough information off of David Bailey at the combine and his pro day that they're safe and they know everything about David Bailey, that they're going to stick with their guns and go David Bailey at 2. The Arizona Cardinals at 3, because Alvaro Reese is still available, I could see Arizona going Alvaro Reese. But they also need tackle. I think if you have a guy like Alvaro Reese, who's 6'4", 243 pounds, falling to you at pick 3, if you're Arizona, I think you go Alvaro Reese. Even if the Jets go Alvaro Reese at 2, I still think the other option, if the Jets go Alvaro Reese at 2, Arizona would go David Bailey at 3. If the Jets go David Bailey at 2, Arizona would go Alvaro Reese at 3. So I think Alvaro Reese goes 3 to Arizona. With the Tennessee Titans at pick 4, they're going with the best all-around player in the draft, I would assume, Jeremiah Love. Definitely the best running back in this class. He's going to Tennessee at pick 4. The Giants at pick 5. They also have pick 10 from trading away Dexter Lawrence to the Cincinnati Bengals. But with the 5th pick, as a Commanders fan, I don't like this. I wanted Sonny Styles to fall to Washington at 7. I just think that's not going to happen. I think the Giants need linebacker. Sonny Styles is the best remaining linebacker on the board. And I think the Giants can't pass up on his ability to go sideline to sideline in that defense. I would love Sonny Styles on the Commanders, but I don't think that's going to happen. The only other option I can see the Giants going with would be Caleb Downs at 5. I could see that. I could see the Giants go Caleb Downs at 5. But I think one of the reasons why the Giants traded the 10th pick is they're hoping, let's just say, they're hoping that they can get Sonny Styles at 5 and Caleb Downs at 10. That's what they're hoping, to build up that defense. You get Sonny Styles at linebacker, and you come back at pick 10 and get Caleb Downs, the safety. That's probably what the Giants are hoping happens. So with this situation, at 5, the Giants are going to go with Sony Styles. At pick 6, the Cleveland Browns could go Francis the tackle, or they could go Cornell Tate, wide receiver at Ohio State. I am going to say the Browns need to find a number 1 wide receiver. They've been needing someone. I mean, they haven't had a good wide receiver in some time. I mean, Jerry Jeudy he's an okay receiver, but he's not going to be your number 1 receiver for another season. You got to get either Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders some more weapons. So I think Cornell Tate to Cleveland, who's 6'3", 195. I I think they have to go. I think the Browns have to go Cornell Tate, the wide receiver out of Ohio State. At pick 7, my Washington Commanders, I would say Caleb Downs, who's 6 foot, 205 pounds. I would say Caleb Downs. But at the same time, I wouldn't be mad if the Commanders decided to trade down to, the mid section of the draft, looking at, Tampa at 15, the Jets at 16, or the Lions at 17 in this area. If Washington can trade down to the mid section of the draft, I would be okay with that. Because if Washington stays at 7, and decides to pick, someone like Caleb Downs, we don't pick again until pick 71. So I could see the Commanders trading out of pick 7, hopefully for a pick down in this range, maybe this range, but hopefully more like this range. We, you know, gain a couple picks in the second, maybe third round, maybe a pick or two next year. That would be, you know, that'd be nice. So I'm gonna have the Washington Commanders in this situation go with Caleb Downs. But like I said, I wouldn't be upset if the Commanders traded out of this pick and got one of these picks and added some picks for day 2. But in this situation, I'm going with Caleb Downs to the Commanders at 7. The Saints at 8. I think they go Ruben Bain. I mean, you could go wide receiver for the Saints. Malachi Lemon, Jordan Tyson. I'm going to go with Ruben Bain. I think Ruben Bain goes to the Saints at 8. With Kansas City at the 9th pick, they did lose a lot of defensive backs in free agency. So I think they get Mansour Delane, corner out of LSU, 6 foot 190. He's the best corner in this class. So I think Kansas City goes corner to replace what they lost in Trent McDuffie, especially Trent McDuffie, and they lost, 1 or 2 other corners. So they go Mansour Delane at corner. The Giants at pick 10. I think they go wide receiver because in this scenario they don't get the chance to get Caleb Downs because Washington grabs him at 7. So at 10, I have him going Jordan Tyson to give Jackson Dart another running mate, or to give Jackson another weapon. On the opposite side of Malik Neighbors, got a good 1-2 at receiver in the for the New York Giants. 11 for Miami. They also need a wide receiver. I think Malachi Lemon in Miami, after Miami traded away Jalen Water, I think Malachi Lemon to the Dolphins at 11. Dallas Cowboys at 12. They need defensive line, linebacker, and corner. Although Reese is already gone, Sonny Styles is gone. The only other linebacker would be CJ Allen, but I think that might be a little bit of a reach at 12. So they could go corner, but the best corner in this class is gone. So they could go Jamad McCoy. I'm going to go ahead and give him McCoy, corner out of Tennessee. Unless any other defensive linemen. Maybe Akeem Mesidor. But they have a second first round pick, so they can get a defensive end with the 20th pick. So I think with this pick, they go corner. And in this case, I think McCoy out of Tennessee. 6 foot, 193. He goes to Dallas at pick 12. The Rams at pick 13. Both Jordan Tyson and Malachi Lemon are off the board. The Rams could trade down in this scenario and gain more picks for later in this draft and next draft. But they also could use a tackle, and Francis out of Miami is still on the board. You don't know how long Matthew Stafford is going to be playing. This could be his final year with the Rams. Francis is 6'6", 315 pounds. Protect Matthew Stafford. I think the Rams, if Francis falls to him at 13, I think they go Francis, tackle out of Miami. The Ravens at 14. Again, another team that could use a wide receiver, but Jordan Tyson and Malachi Lemon are already off the board. They could go guard, the best guard in the class out of Penn State. I'm going to have the Ravens go guard. You got to protect Lamar Jackson. You lost a few offensive linemen in free agency. So I'm going to say you go get the guard out of Penn State at 14. Tampa at 15. This could be a spot for Kenyon Sadiq. This could also be a spot for another edge rusher, or if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers wanted to, they could replace, well, you can't really replace Levante David, who retired, but they could go out and get CJ Allen at 15. He's 6'1", 235. He's 21 years old. I'm going to have Tampa go CJ Allen, linebacker out of Georgia. Tampa gets a linebacker to replace who they lost in Levante David out of retirement. The Jets at 16. This could be a spot that they could go ahead and draft Ty Simpson. I don't think there's going to be two quarterbacks off the board in the first round. They could go wide receiver. At pick 2, they went David Bailey. So they could go wide receiver, or they could go corner. They could go Terrell, the corner out at Clemson. They could go Omar Cooper. I think Omar Cooper actually might be a good fit with the Jets. I think it could be a good fit for the Jets, but I think the Jets really need defensive help. I'm going to have him go Terrell at 16. The Lions at 17. I think the better linebackers are already off the board. You could go Jacob Rodriguez. I don't think he's going to be a first round pick. I think he's a good linebacker. I don't think he's going to be a first round pick. I think he might be, second, definitely a second round pick. Could go defensive line if you're the Lions. Caden McDonald, maybe. Peter Woods. Or you go with an edge on the opposite side of, you get a running mate on defense. They also need a tackle. Spencer Fano is still here. Monroe Freeling. Caden Proctor. To me, I still think Caden Proctor is like an absolute lion. He seems like a lion to me. 6'7", 366 pounds. Something tells me that he just kind of feels like he should be a Detroit Lion. They could go Spencer Fano at tackle as well. But I'm going to go Caden Proctor to the Lions at 17. 18 with Minnesota. I think they go Dylan, safety out of Oregon. I mean, they need a safety. He's the best remaining safety on the board. So I think Minnesota goes safety. The Panthers at 19. In this situation, Kenyon Sadiq is still on the board. It says the Panthers need a tight end. He would fit well in that tight end room. I mean, you got Tommy Trimble, you got Jatavion Sanders. We drafted Mitchell Evans last year. So I think Kenyon Sadiq would be much more of a weapon. As in, Kenyon Sadiq would be much more of a weapon other than, Mitchell Evans is more of a blocking tight end. Uh, I like Tommy Trimble. I think he's a good tight end. I think he's at like 1 or 2 years left on his contract. So if we get a guy like Kenyon Sadiq, I think Tommy Trimble could be expendable. So in this situation, it would be Kenyon Sadiq, tight end number 1, tight end 2 would be Jadavion Sanders. That's a decent tight end 1 and 2. So I'm going to say Kenyon Sadiq goes to Carolina at pick 19. Give Bryce Young another big weapon. I mean, Kenyon Sadiq is 6'3", 245 pounds. You got to see if Bryce Young the franchise. You gave Bryce Young Xavier Legette back in 2024. You got, was it 2024? I'm pretty sure it was 2024. You got Xavier Legette in 2024. 2025, you got Ted McMillan. In this first round in the 2026 NFL draft, go get Bryce Young, a big tight end, and Kenyon Sadiq. I could also see the Panthers going on the defensive line. Someone probably like a Peter Woods. I could see Peter Woods going to Carolina at pick 19. 6'3", 310, pair him up with Derek Brown. That could be an option. Dallas at pick 20. I gave him Jamad McCoy, corner out of Tennessee, with their 12th pick, and they're back on the board. I think you go Akeem Mezadir, going to Dallas at pick 20. Pittsburgh at 21. I think Spencer Fano is still on the board. The Pittsburgh could go Spencer Fano. They could go Blake Miller. I think Spencer Fano could also play guard. Six, 308 pounds. I'm gonna say Pittsburgh goes. There's not really. They could go the guard out of Oregon. The best guard in this class is already off the board to the Ravens at 14. I'm gonna say Spencer Fano goes to Pittsburgh at 21. Chargers at 22. They could go wide receiver. You get Elmore Cooper, Casey Concepcion, possibly. They could go safety. I think they go the guard out of Oregon. 6'5", 318. He goes to the LA Chargers at 22. Philadelphia at 23. They did lose one of those safeties in free agency. So Emmanuel McNeil-Warren would make sense. I don't think the rest of the first round receivers makes any sense for Philadelphia. The rumors are that AJ Brown might be on the move post June 1st. Maybe if Philadelphia wants to get a guy like Denzel Boston, 6'4", 209 pounds, get a big receiver. If you're going to be losing out, if you're going to be trading away AJ Brown, you have to replace him with a bigger receiver. And Denzel Boston is probably the biggest receiver that could be a first round pick. Or the Eagles go and get a big body receiver in the second, third, fourth round. They could go get like a Zachariah Branch in the second round. He's not a big body receiver, but he's fast. I think they go safety Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, though. I think he goes to Philly, replacing who they lost in free agency. Cleveland at 24. I had him going Cornell Tate at 6. So at 24, I'm going to have the Browns take. I would go tackle. I would definitely go tackle for the Browns. You got to protect either Deshaun Watson or Shedeur Sanders, whoever ends up winning that QB job. And the best tackle remaining is Monroe Freeling out of Georgia. They could go after a Blake Miller too, but I think Monroe Freeling falls to him at 24. I think it makes sense. Chicago at 25. I don't think there's a first round safety that's remaining. So I don't think Chicago drafts a safety in the first round in this scenario. You could go defensive line. Caden Proctor, Peter Woods. I'm going to go. Well, Caleb Banks. It's either between Caleb Banks or Peter Woods. Caleb Banks is 6'6", 330. And Peter Woods is 6'3", 310. I think Peter Woods is one of the best defensive tackles in this class. But for Chicago, I think Caleb Banks makes more sense. So I'm going to have Chicago go Caleb Banks at 25. Buffalo at 26. Like I said, the best safeties are already off the board. You could go linebacker if you're Buffalo. But I mean, first round talent linebackers are off the board already. You could trade the pick. They could trade out of this spot in the actual draft. I think in this scenario, they could go Caden McDonald in this situation. 6'3", 326. I'm gonna have him go Caden McDonald. The San Francisco 49ers at 27. Kendrick Folk is still available. Blake Miller is still available. You got to find a replacement for Trent Williams at some point. He's in his late 30s. I might have the Niners go tackle. Yeah, I'm going to have him go Blake Miller, tackle out of Clemson. Here, the Houston Texans at 28. They could go defensive line. I mean, their offensive line needs to be worked on a little bit. I still think uh, Chase from Texas A&M goes to Houston at 28. The Kansas City Chiefs are back on the clock at 29. With their first pick, I had them going Mansour Delane, the best corner in this class, at 9. So at 29, they could go wide receiver, like a KC Concepcion possibly, or an Omar Cooper. They could go edge. I mean, Kendrick Folk is still on the board. That's a possibility. Cautious Howard's a possibility. Omo Cooper is still on the board. Omo Cooper, Denzel Boston, Casey Concepcion. I like Casey Concepcion. He's one of my favorite receivers in this class. I'm gonna have Omo Cooper, I think, going to Kansas City. I think that's gonna be the pick. I think to me, for Kansas City, it's either between Kendrick Folk, Omar Cooper, or Peter Woods. Those are my three options for Kansas City. I think in this situation, I might have to go. I'm gonna go with Kendrick Folk to Kansas City. Actually, give him an extra edge rusher. I mean, they lost a decent amount of defensive linemen in free agency, so give him a good edge rusher. Miami at pick 30. I had him going Malachi Lemon at pick 11. So at pick 30, I'm going to have the Miami Dolphins. So they already got their wide receiver one in Malachi Lemon. I think you go on the defensive side of the ball at pick 30 and you go and get Colton Hood, corner out of Tennessee, 6 foot 195. He's one of the best remaining cornerbacks on, that have a first round grade on him. I think Colton Hood goes to Miami at pick 30. New England at 31. You could go the tackle out of Arizona State. I mean, Peter Woods is still on the board. That's a possibility. Peter Woods might end up in New England. I think I'm going to go with. It's either tackle or defensive line. I'm going to go Peter Woods to New England at 31. And then with the Seattle Seahawks pick at 32, I could see a team trading back into the first round with New England or uh, Seattle to draft Ty Simpson. Someone like the Jets or Arizona or Cleveland, one of those few teams. I could see that happening. But in this scenario, New England goes Peter Woods. And with the Seahawks pick, they could go running back. They did lose Kenneth Walker in free agency, so they could go Price out of Notre Dame. They could go defensive back. They did lose a few corners. They could go Brandon Siss from South Carolina. Or they go Cassius from Texas A&M. Cassius is 6'2", 248. I think for the Seahawks, it's either they're going to trade out of this pick or they draft either Price, the running back out of Notre Dame, or maybe some sort of defensive lineman. I mean, they could go corner, like Brandon Siss out of South Carolina. I don't think. I mean, they could go corner, but I don't know if there's any other than Brandon Siss. So I think it's either the Seahawks trade the pick, they go Brandon Siss, the corner out of South Carolina, or they go Price. I think it's either Price or it's a defensive lineman. I'm gonna have him go in Cassius, I think. It's either gonna be Cassius or the running back. 5'11", 210. Yeah, like I said, for the Seahawks, it's either gonna be they're gonna trade this pick. I can see a running back or some sort of defensive lineman. I think for I think I'm gonna give him. I think I'm gonna give him Cassius. So that's my mock draft right before the NFL draft happens tomorrow. I have the Raiders going Fernando Mendoza at 1. I got the Jets going David Bailey at 2. I got the Arizona Cardinals going Alvaro Reese at 3. Tennessee Titans going and getting the best running back in this class, Jeremiah Love. I have the Giants going Sonny Styles. The Browns going Cornell Tate out of Ohio State. I have the Washington Commanders, my team, staying put at 7. But I could see, and I would be okay with the Commanders trading out of this pick and getting like one of the mid-round picks and a couple day 2 picks. Because if we stay at 7, we don't pick till 71. So I would be okay with the Commanders trading out of this pick and trading down. But in this scenario, I had him going Caleb Downs, safety out of Ohio State. I had the Saints going Ruben Bain. I had the Kansas City Chiefs going Mansour Delane, corner out of LSU. I got the Giants with the 10th overall pick, who they got from Cincinnati. I have them going Jordan Tyson. I got the Miami Dolphins going Malachi Lemon. Dallas getting Jamon McCoy. The Rams get the best tackle in the class in Francis. The Ravens get a new offensive lineman. They get the best offensive guard in the class. I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers getting C.J. Allen after Levante David retired. I got the Jets getting Terrell, corner out of Clemson. I got the Lions getting Caden Proctor. The Vikings getting Dylan Thurman, safety out of Oregon. I got the Panthers drafting Kenan Sadiq, tight end out of Oregon, the best tight end in this class. I got the Cowboys drafting edge Akeem Mezadir. I got the Pittsburgh Steelers drafting Spencer Fano, tackle out of Utah. I got the Los Angeles Chargers drafting a guard out of Oregon. I got the Eagles drafting a safety to replace who they lost in free agency. I have them get him Emmanuel McNeil Warren. I got the Browns drafting Monroe Freeling at 24. At 25, I have Chicago drafting Caleb Banks out of Florida. At 26, I have the Buffalo Bills drafting Caden McDonald, bolster up that defensive line. At San Francisco, I have them getting Blake Miller, a tackle out of Clemson. Houston, I have them getting a guard out of Texas A&M. With the 29th pick, I have the Kansas City Chiefs going with an edge rusher and Kendrick Folk out of Auburn. With the 30th pick, I have the Miami Dolphins going corner out of Tennessee, Colton Hood. I got the New England Patriots getting Peter Woods out of Clemson to booster up New England's defensive line. And then with the 32nd pick in the first round, I got the Seattle Seahawks picking Cassius Howell, edge out of Texas A&M. Let me know how you think about this mock draft, and make sure to like, comment, subscribe. And I will be going live for day 1 and possibly day 2 of the upcoming NFL draft.